Something major is unfolding across the world, and most people do not realize how fast it is happening. For years, migration shaped borders, cities, politics, and identities. Millions moved across countries, believing that once they arrived, they would stay. Governments spoke the language of openness. Borders felt permanent in one direction only. But that direction is changing. As the world moves into 2026, a new reality is taking shape. Countries that once accepted, absorbed, and tolerated large numbers of migrants are now doing something very different. They are removing them, not quietly, not slowly, but through large-scale, organized, and accelerating mass deportation campaigns. What was once framed mainly as a humanitarian challenge is now treated as a question of security, stability, cost, and survival. Laws are tightening. Courts are speeding up removals. Welfare systems are being cut off. Borders are being hardened. With technology and force, the question is no longer whether mass deportation is happening. The question is how far it will go. Stay with us until the end, because what you are about to hear will change how you see immigration in 2026. France stands at the center of this shift. By 2026, France has become one of the most aggressive deporting nations in Europe. The change did not come overnight. It was built on years of tension, unrest, and political pressure. With millions of immigrants already inside the country, France reached a point where control became the priority. Deportations increased sharply year after year, and by 2026, removals reached historic levels. Undocumented migrants rejected asylum. Seekers and foreign nationals convicted of crimes are now removed at speed. In many cases, deportation happens within days. Emergency powers allow authorities to bypass lengthy appeals. Migrant camps that once existed on the edges of major cities have been dismantled entirely. Families who lived in France for years have been sent back to their countries of origin. Even legal residents face deportation if they are considered a threat to public order. Public support remains high. Many citizens believe earlier policies failed to protect social cohesion. France's message in 2026 is clear. Entry does not guarantee belonging. And removal is no longer exceptional. It is routine. Germany's transformation may be even more striking. A country once seen as the moral heart of migration in Europe now stands among the strongest enforcers of deportation. After absorbing millions of refugees over the past decade, Germany reached a breaking point. Housing shortages worsened. Local governments struggled to fund schools and healthcare. Crime concerns dominated headlines. By 2026, Germany's deportation system operates at full scale. Rejected asylum seekers are removed quickly. Benefits are reduced to encourage voluntary return. Police conduct raids in shelters, transit hubs, and workplaces. Foreign criminals face near-automatic expulsion. Deportation flights leave weekly. Carrying people back to Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, the shift is framed not as cruelty, but as correction. Officials argue that a system built for emergency welcome cannot function forever. Public opinion supports the change. Most Germans now say limits are necessary. Germany's story shows how compassion without structure eventually collapses under its own weight. Italy experiences migration differently than most countries. It does not see it through policy papers or statistics alone. It sees it arrive by sea, boat after boat, year after year. By 2026, Italy has chosen a path built on distance and deterrence. Instead of processing asylum claims on Italian soil, migrants are transferred to offshore centers. The border is no longer the coastline. It is moved outward, rapid deportation. Laws aim to remove tens of thousands of undocumented migrants each year. Smuggling vessels are seized and destroyed. Humanitarian rescue groups face strict limits on where they can dock. The message is intentional. Arrival no longer means settlement. Italy's government argues that deterrence saves lives by breaking smuggling networks. Critics warn of moral costs. But public fatigue is deep. Coastal towns cannot absorb endless arrivals. Italy in 2026 reflects a wider truth. When crisis becomes permanent, societies look for speed, distance, Control. Austria may not dominate headlines, but its role is crucial. Sitting at the crossroads of Europe, Austria has long been a transit route for migration. Over time, transit turned into settlement, pressure mounted. By 2026, Austria enforces one of the strictest deportation systems in Central Europe. Asylum approvals have dropped sharply. Undocumented migrants face removal as a priority. Citizenship rules are tighter. Anyone who relied on state assistance faces rejection. Border surveillance towers scan crossings using artificial intelligence. Austria also pushes strongly for processing and deportation centers outside Europe. The idea is simple. If movement does not lead to permanence, the incentive weakens. Austria's approach is quiet but firm. It reflects a belief that stability depends on clarity, not ambiguity. Denmark offers one of the clearest examples of deliberate restriction. Known for social trust and order, Denmark has chosen prevention over accommodation. By 2026, Denmark accepts almost no new asylum seekers. Applications are processed abroad. Migrants are sent to external facilities while cases are reviewed. Deportations target not only the undocumented, but also long-term residents whose home countries are deemed safe again. Integration rules are strict. Non-compliance leads to removal. Immigrants must meet language and cultural requirements to remain. Public support is overwhelming. Many Danes believe social harmony depends on firm boundaries. Denmark shows how. A small, stable society chooses control to protect what it values most. Finland's shift surprised many observers. Known for calm and trust, Finland now enforces some of the fastest deportations in Europe. Illegal entry can result in removal within days. The eastern border is sealed with fences, sensors, and drones. Authorities argue that migration can be weaponized by hostile neighbors. Residence permits are revoked at scale. Criminal convictions, even minor ones, sharply increase the chance of deportation. Public opinion favors even tougher laws. Finland's story proves that even peaceful societies will draw hard lines when security feels threatened. Greece remains on the front line. Years of mass arrivals left deep scars. Camps overflowed. Local communities stretched to the limit. By 2026, Greece no longer absorbs pressure, it releases it. Asylum approvals are sharply reduced. Periods are extended. Deportations accelerate through bilateral return agreements. Surveillance now covers sea and land borders around the clock. The goal is deterrence. Greece argues that endless intake is not compassion. It is collapse. Public support reflects exhaustion after years of strain. Latvia represents a new kind of enforcer. Small in size but firm in stance, Latvia treats migration as a security issue. Borders with hostile neighbors are sealed using advanced technology. Pushback laws allow immediate removal. Residency rules are tightened. Language requirements rise. Thousands leave voluntarily as permanence becomes harder. Latvia's example shows that mass deportation is not limited to large nations. Smaller states are moving fast to protect sovereignty. Poland's approach is direct and unapologetic. Rooted in strong national identity, Poland views illegal migration as a threat to sovereignty. Border walls, surveillance systems, an emergency. Laws allow immediate deportation without appeal. Deportation flights operate at scale. The government frames migration pressure as a form of attack. Public support is strong. Poland's stance in 2026 is clear. Borders mean something, and enforcement is non-negotiable. Sweden's reversal carries deep symbolism. Once celebrated for openness, Sweden now faces the consequences of years of uncontrolled intake. Rising crime, gang violence, and social fragmentation forced to rethink. By 2026, Sweden conducts mass deportations under a nationwide enforcement campaign. Benefits are removed. Courts fast-track cases. Entire families are deported if legal status is missing. Criminal migrants are expelled immediately. Public opinion supports the crackdown. Many Swedes say safety must come first. Sweden's transformation shows how quickly ideals can change when trust breaks down. Beyond Europe, the trend is global. The United States expands deportation operations. At the border and within cities, fast-track removals increase. Welfare access is restricted. Australia detains and removes unauthorized arrivals offshore. Gulf states intensify labor deportations as economic pressures rise. Even countries once dependent on migrant labor are reassessing numbers and control. In 2026, deportation is no longer a fringe policy. It is mainstream. The reasons behind this shift are complex, but consistent. Housing shortages strain cities. Welfare systems face rising costs. Public safety concerns dominate politics. Elections reward toughness. Courts are overwhelmed. Trust between citizens and governments weakens when systems feel out of control. Deportation becomes the visible response to regain authority. Critics warn of human suffering. Supporters argue that borders without enforcement are illusions. What makes 2026 different is scale and coordination. Deportation is no longer reactive. It is planned, budgeted, systematized. Laws are rewritten to speed removal. Technology tracks movement. International agreements return people faster than ever. What once took years now takes weeks or days. Movement does not guarantee settlement. This does not mean migration ends. People will still move. Conflict, poverty, and climate pressure continue. The balance has shifted. States are reasserting control. The era of open-ended tolerance is closing. What replaces it is harder, colder, and more controlled. The real question is not only who is deported, but what kind of societies emerge afterward. Does enforcement restore trust and stability, or does it deepen division? Can borders be defended without losing humanity? Can order and dignity coexist? These questions will define the coming years. As 2026 unfolds, mass deportation is no longer hidden. It is visible policy. It is debated openly. It reshapes lives, cities, and nations. Whether one supports it or fears it, ignoring it is no longer possible. If you want to understand how migration policy is reshaping the world and what comes next, stay connected. Like this video, share your thoughts, and subscribe so you do not miss the next analysis.